All right, and welcome back to Danjos' Footballing Corner. But this time I have a guest, Naoki. Yeah, no, today we're going to go and talk about the Champions League format. Things we like, things we don't like. But I guess before we actually talk about the format, Naoki, I guess we could talk a little bit about what we think of the games thus far.
Yeah.
What do you think? It's different.
It's very different. And I guess the point of each game now is that it has a lot more meaning behind them.
Yeah.
In the group stages, once you kind of beaten every team once in your group, you know, the last 3 games, or maybe the last like 2 games, you know, if you're at the top of the group, they kind of become a little bit more irrelevant. They kind of just become more practice runs. But I guess with the new format now, every game is like worth watching, and every game means something. I like the way that they've kind of separated the teams into different pots and stuff, and so it's like you're going to be facing a city side isn't going to be facing, you know, a
Slovan Bratislava.
exact. Well,
I think they are playing.
then we saw Bayern Munich destroy
Dinamo Zagreb.
9-2. So I guess, you know, and goal differential will actually matter, because that's what's separating Bayern right now from the rest of the pack is that goal differential. So I've been enjoying it. You know, we were watching that AC Milan game last Tuesday, and we conceded that first goal, and then we were like, oh shoot, and then we ended up scoring.
I like it because it's interesting in the sense that there might be a potential of different teams in the knockout stages. You know? I know Celtic won, which would be cool, and maybe that was more of the thinking or the thought process that UEFA had when they were making this. So I guess in that sense, maybe we'll see different teams in the knockout stages, because I think in the past 4 or 5, maybe even 6 years, we've seen pretty much the same teams in the knockout stages.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, before it was probably 10 points gets you to the next round, objectively, 9 to 10 points.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas now, I mean, it's for, what is it? It's 1 through 9, right? They automatically qualify?
1 through 9 automatically qualify, and then 1 through 8.
1 through 8.
And then 9 through 24.
It's going to probably
compete
be 15
in
or 16
like in a
points.
2-legged knockout stages.
Yeah. It's kind of like the Americanization of the Champions League.
Kind of. Yeah, that 9 through 24 format is very NBA playoff-esque.
It is.
It's like number 9 will play maybe the 24 seed and whatever. So.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind it. I think that, you know, for things to kind of progress and the game is changing, and I think that what comes with that is probably structural change to the Champions League. I don't mind it. I don't hate it. I don't love it.
Yeah.
But I am curious to see, you know, which teams, will there be a shock? Will there be an outlier? Could we see, for example, a Celtic or, you know, I don't know. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't even know who the fuck is in the Champions League, to be honest.
Bayern, Celtic, Leverkusen, Villa, Dortmund, Prague.
Yeah, like imagine if Villa gets the top 8.
That would be kind of insane.
That would be cool. I mean, Leverkusen would be nice.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I mean,
Atalanta,
also,
they had a good year last year in the Europa League.
I mean, also, like, you get to see some big marquee matchups a lot earlier on that has.
Kind of reminds of EuroLeague.
Yeah.
Actually, interesting.
Yeah,
Sorry to cut you off.
Liverpool plays Madrid in this stage, and they play Bayer Leverkusen in this stage, and PSV, and you know, Real Madrid will play Dortmund and AC Milan, and Bayern Munich will play PSG, Barcelona, Benfica, Aston Villa at some point. So we're getting some pretty big marquee matchups a lot earlier on in the stages than.
Which is nice to watch.
And like that, because in any other year we would have to wait till the semifinals, the quarterfinals.
Like Anderlecht playing, you know, fucking some Kazakhstani farmer somewhere.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And they did also increase the teams. It's 36 teams now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, interestingly enough, I mean, in that 9 to 24 bracket, or, you know, positioning in the board, I would probably say you probably only really need like 8 to 11 points, I would say.
Probably, yeah.
I mean, even with 11, I mean, was it 8 games they're playing now?
Yeah.
So out of 24, do you think we'll see a team this Champions League go 8 wins out of 8? Do you think that's feasible?
Bayern could do it.
Is their schedule like?
They play PSG, Barca, Benfica, Shakhtar.
I mean, given
Feyenoord,
PSG,
Bratislava. Aston Villa.
Given Barcelona, that's a tough schedule.
It's a tough schedule. The bigger teams have the toughest schedules. Is kind of the point of it.
Yeah, that's true. So like you said, every game matters. So let's dive.
It would have been City, but City they've drawn one already.
Yeah, against Inter.
Yeah.
So this is from the ESPN website. So this is from last year. So for next season, 36 teams will take part in the Champions League, and they will be in one big table. There will be a draw at the start of the season, which we saw, but only to create the league phase fixtures, 8 games for each club, 4 at home and 4 away.
Yep.
The 36 teams will be divided into 4 pots of 9. Pot 1 will have the title holders of the UEFA Champions League and the 8 clubs with the best coefficients. That means the champions of the top domestic leagues and the UEFA Europa League title holders will no longer be prioritized for pot 1, 2, and 4 are ordered on club coefficient. So each club will be drawn to play 2 teams from each pot, 1 home, 1 away. Like you said, Naoki, it increases the likelihood of better matchups. So unlike in the current format, a club in pot 1 will play a game against 2 other clubs from pot 1. As a general rule, clubs from the same association will not be drawn against each other. However, to avoid deadlocking, the leagues with 4 or more clubs could play 1 match against each other from the same country. From the final table, the top 8 go directly into the round of 16. Positions 9 through 24 will enter a playoff to earn the other 8 places in the round of 16. Positions 25 and 36 are just eliminated from Europe. There's no country protection in any of the knockout rounds. So, for instance, from the Premier League, they could play each other right off the bat.
Yeah.
Unlike in previous seasons, there is no drop down of teams from the Champions League to the Europa League after the league phase. Once eliminated, your European season is over. I actually like that.
Mm-hmm.
I do like that because I feel that there were times where teams that were like, I remember Atletico one season, back when we were in high school, they finished 3rd, I think, in a Champions League group, and they ended up playing Arsenal in the semifinal in the Europa League. And it was just kind of weird because I always felt that it was kind of awarding mediocrity, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And plus, like, the point of the Europa League, and now you have the Conference League, right? It wouldn't really be fair because those teams are already kind of better positioned, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And the last thing here is there will be only 1 knockout round draw for the round of 16 onwards. With teams seeded based upon their final league position and no country protection, it means it's important where you finish in the table. The higher you are, the more favorable the knockout route is. We've seen that with the NBA. We've seen that with the MLB, NFL. So do you like this kind of Americanization of this, or do you think that the whole point of this was just to kind of prevent the Super League and just increase the revenue for the broadcasters?
I mean, as a big American sports fan, it's been around my life for a long time. The NFL, the MLB, the NBA, with the 1 seed plays the 8 seed, and so on and so forth, or whatever the case may be. And more often than not, with the NBA, you had the best of 7 series, but in the NFL, because you have the knockout rounds of, the divisional round, the conference championship or whatever, and this is 1 game elimination, you saw last season, like a team like the Detroit Lions get to the NFC championship, mm-hmm. and push the Niners really to the brink. Do I realistically foresee like a high lower seeded team, like a 16 seed or...
So it's gonna be 1 against 16 then.
I don't know if that's exactly what it's gonna be, but like, how realistic would we wouldn't it be instead of like in the first year like a 16 seed, 16 place Champions League club win the Champions League?
It would be interesting, and
you know what I mean?
Yeah, and this is an interesting point that I'd like to talk about because Isaiah and I were talking about this in an After Hours episode with the NBA, where we thought that eventually what we could see is, the Europeans are taking stuff from the Americans. I think that the Americans should take stuff from the Europeans in the sense that, like, for example, the MLS, I think, should have relegation. I think there's way too many teams in the MLS. I think they should get rid of, the conferences and whatever. But I think what would make the NBA interesting in this aspect is if they just made it 1 league. So like what we said in that episode, Isaiah and I, was like, imagine the Lakers play the Celtics, 1 against 16.
Oh, yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
the 1 through 16 format.
Yeah, and it kind of spices it up a little bit because there was a point, where for a while, but the Warriors and, Warriors and the Cavs, we've seen the same finals for like 4 years.
Yeah.
And everyone kind of already knew that, like, even before the season started, it's... Yeah. And I think there's kind of that thing with the Champions League now where it's like Real Madrid, regardless of who they play, they'll probably win it.
Yeah.
But then you have, like, your Bayerns and your Milans and your Liverpools and, et cetera. So I think it's an interesting thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's going to be one that's going to take a little bit of time to get used to, I think.
For sure.
Especially for the more European-based fans that they've just been used to this group stage format for the longest time. And I mean, in every other competition, it's been group stages, the World Cup and the Euros and stuff like that. But and I think they're also going to change the Europa League and the Conference League formats to have it be similar to this format also. No? Yeah. But it's like less. I think it's like less games compared to the Champions League.
Yeah, I mean the before there was the Conference League, it was the Europa League. It used to be 64 teams.
Wow.
So it used to be a round of 32.
That's crazy.
Yeah, back in the day.
Yeah.
The UEFA Cup. So
it's kind of March Madness-esque.
It is,
more or less.
I think the whole point of this was to kind of get rid of the dead rubber games.
Yeah.
So like City, they get like 16 points out of 18 in the regular group. They're rotating. Not that they have any fans to begin with, but I'm saying like they play against Basel.
Yeah.
At home, and then the next game is I don't know Copenhagen.
Yeah,
or Shakhtar. I feel like for 6 years they're getting fucking Shakhtar every time in their group.
Yeah, but then you had some groups like last season where you had
the group of death.
PSG, Newcastle.
That was a great group. Borussia Dortmund
in one group, but I mean, like I said, I think it's made more exciting matchups. It's still gonna be very top heavy with the top clubs in Europe should be competing in the top 8 to 16 or whatever. But I think it's also to make every game matter more, and I think that's what this format does is it makes every game a lot more meaningful. Every game has a ton of implications, like you said. It does matter where you place,
of course,
in the table. It's not just about winning your group. It's about you want to secure important points. Arsenal, take notes. You can't take draws here. So yeah, I mean I'm excited, and it should be very, very interesting. It's gonna be a very, very interesting Champions League season.
I'm just curious to see. So the original proposed plan was that the tournament would almost double in size. So they wanted to go from 125 games to 225 games.
If you guys listen to our Upper 90 pod last episode, we don't want more games.
No, we don't. And so this would be teams playing 10 games in the group stage.
Yeah, no.
As opposed to 8.
Yeah, no.
So, however, it's been scaled back to eight group games, meaning 189 games in the Champions League season. So it means 2 extra match days, which we know because it used to be 6. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. Is this going to be enough to curtail the inevitable that is the Super League? Because people are going to be very naive to think that just kind of fucked off without there ever being thoughts back to it.
I'm really hoping that it just pisses off completely.
Because that's how I kind of see this whole revamping of it was more money for the owners and the broadcasters.
Yeah.
To kind of get them to stop bitching and moaning about, hey, let's leave, UEFA, let's leave this and let's go do our own thing. I still think that was that this is to combat that.
Possibly.
I mean, honestly, to put into terms what that day was like when they had announced all of that, it was literally like the Celtics, the Warriors, the Bucks, like all the best teams in the NBA. Like, let's say 6 teams were just like, you know what? We don't like the NBA anymore. We're just gonna do our own thing. Like, imagine that. And obviously, the NBA has much more, regulation and rules.
Yeah.
Put in place so people don't do this. Yeah. Whereas in Europe, it's kind of like free reign. It's like the Wild West, where it's like, oh, if you have money, like, who gives a shit? So
true.
Yeah, I don't know.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
I don't know. I'm kind of confused. I want to like it, but it's just different.
I think once this year ends, like this Champions League year ends,
knockout stages better be fire.
Yeah,
it better be fire.
Once we kind of see through the first year, we can kind of get a better grasp of how much we like it or how much we don't like it.
I like it so far.
Like, remember the play-in? Like, when the play-in first, I don't like it either, but now it's like a staple. So it's like, well, as a Laker fan, you guys have benefited a lot from the play-in.
We're playing ball club. I know.
Yeah, and that's like, which is hilarious.
Yeah, it's terrible.
So I don't know. Like I said, I think we're just gonna have to see this one through. And
what are the things you don't like about it?
I don't. I don't like the extra games.
I don't either.
I don't like the extra games that are, I do like that you play really, you don't play the same teams from your country. Like
for now,
right? But in the group stages, like, what don't I like? That's a good question. Honestly, I don't know enough about it to really give like a strong like dislike of it.
Yeah. I do like. I don't like the. I don't like the 2 extra games, to be honest with you.
I don't like it either, and I also think like from a strategic standpoint, I think the 2-leg group stage system, worked quite a bit. Like if you played one team in your group and then let's say you lost, then you have the second leg.
Yeah.
To really get get that going, and make adjustments or whatever.
We're still gonna have that in the knockout stages, obviously. Yeah. But I get where you're coming from. Where it's like Liverpool play Real Madrid, where it's like if Liverpool are to beat Madrid at Anfield, then the Madrid fans that's kind of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they don't go back to the Bernabeu and they don't have a chance at redemption.
The travel is
it's a lot.
Insane also because you're not playing anyone in the knockout stages for the first 8 games. You're not the 4 out of the first 8 games. You're not playing against another team in your country. For Liverpool, they had to travel to Milan and they got to travel to play Leipzig and PSV and Girona. So they got to travel to 4 different countries.
Yeah. Apart
from all the travel that they do to play in the Premier League.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like I said, if you guys listen to our last Upper 90 pod, you guys can get a better grasp as to how we feel about extra games and travel and everything.
Yeah, it was an interesting conversation, and I think that this kind of goes to that point where I think the biggest thing that I don't like about this is probably the games, and just the fact that it's different. Maybe it's more of a kind of
old head thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I grew up on the group stages, Yeah.
And
even in the group stages, like there were moments that will stick with me forever, like great games that were so meaningful.
Yeah.
But I think the thing I do like about this is that already there seems to be like storylines that will be written. So like Jude coming to Anfield, Xabi Alonso going to Anfield.
That'd be crazy.
I don't know. Let me look at Aston Villa back in Europe for the first time in 40 years.
That's true.
What else is there? Girona's in the Champions League. Red Star Belgrade's not. Well, they're terrible, but yeah. Just interesting things that hopefully, I just hope by the grace of God that it's.
And it's
I hope it's not the same 8 teams every year.
Yeah.
That's my biggest worry.
Yeah.
That it's the same 8 and then everything else is just like up for grabs.
Yeah,
and that's very Super League-y.
It's very It's very Super League.
Not that United has to worry about that, considering they just drew against some Dutch bread makers.
And it's gonna want to keep an eye on the table. It's like you don't have to look at the way that you look at your regular league table for your domestic league. You can look at it the same way on the Champions League.
Celtic is second.
Yeah, I know.
The fuck.
Bayern's first with the +7 goal differential through one game.
That is mad.
Through one game.
That is mad.
Which is crazy. Liverpool and Madrid are in the same goal differential.
Interesting you say that, because I think from position 7 to 10, that goal difference is going to be crazy.
Yeah.
Because that could be literally what it's up to.
That could decide the playoff,
Jesus
potentially.
Christ. But anyway, to wrap up your final thought, Naoki, what else do you think? Who do you think's going to win it?
I'm hoping for Liverpool, obviously, as a supporter.
Go with your gut.
Who do I think will ultimately win it? I think it'll be Madrid. I think, still.
I think so as well.
Yeah. I mean...
Bayern Munich looks really good.
I mean, it's one game, but...
I'm not going to lie. I mean, I would love to see Harry Kane win a trophy, even though he's
I would love
proper knobhead.
But, I mean, Bayern do look insane.
They do. I mean, they did play...
insane.
They did play...
Zagreb.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, like, Harry Kane had, like, a super hat trick that game, and Elise had a brace.
I got young boys. Young boys.
I beg your pardon?
Oh, wait. That sounded rap. Oh, shit. I sound like the diddler.
No Diddy?
No. Young Boys, the Swiss team.
I hate that that's a club name, by the way.
It's bad. It's bad. Young Boys, Madrid in the final.
All right.
Mbappe's on the hunt for some young boys. All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening to Danjos' Footballing Corner with my special guest and sexy Japanese friend.
Wataru Endo Jr.
All right, bro. We'll be back with more footballing content. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us on our Twitter and our YouPorn and our Instagram. We're going to...
I edit these videos. I don't remember listening to any of
that was that was code for YouTube and what was the other thing I said?
Twitter.
Yeah. So thanks for listening. Leave a like. Please share with your mothers and fathers and brothers and sisters. We will see you guys very soon.
Bye.